If you want a man to fall in love with you, just be emotionally unavailable. Don't give him a safe space, okay? Don't give him a safe space. Let him know, actually, this is not a safe space. They'll love it. They'll love you.
Hello, is that Mensa? Oh, I've got a young lady here who needs to take your entrance exam. In an act of absolute genius, she's figured out that what men want from a woman is a woman that makes them feel unsafe. A woman who's emotionally withdrawn, whom they can't trust.
What?
And offers nothing in the way of support, kindness, or care. She's figured out, in an act of surpassing genius, that that's what men want in a woman. Please, Mensa, you must get in touch with her. Moving on.
When women raise their voices, it's because they feel like they're not being heard. When men raise their voices, it's because they feel like they're not being obeyed. Men don't want to be understood. They don't want you to hear them out. They don't want you to hear what they have to say. They want you to obey what they tell you to do.
Thank you, young lady, for letting us all know what men want and why men raise their voices.
Well done.
Convenient that the reason you say men raise their voices lets women off the hook for all of their insufferable behaviour. When women raise their voices, it's because they want to be heard. Not because they're overgrown toddlers who have the capacity for emotional regulation of a 3-year-old.
Damn!
No. It's because they need to be heard. But when men raise their voices, it's because they're tyrants who need to be obeyed. It's not because they've tried talking calmly to their woman, but she refuses to listen because of the aforementioned emotional dysregulation and I'm an infant in an adult's body aspect that you're demonstrating here by expressing a level of bitterness and resentment that can only have been caused by being repeatedly rejected by the men you want, and thus, as women are wont to do, doing everything you can to ensure that other women remain as single and as miserable as you are by disparaging men and discouraging them from liking men and therefore getting into relationships with men. Because, as we all know, misery loves company.
I agree with that.
However, that is only true when it comes to women.
I'm sorry, what?
Because when men are miserable, they will tend to go off on their own so that they don't spread their misery to their loved ones. Men tend to hold their misery inside and keep it away from others. On the other hand, as we all know, when women are miserable, they want to make sure that everyone around them is miserable as well.
He is the one.
We all know it, but few have the courage to say it.
So if you're making $50,000, don't date. I'm just being for real. You're not ready to date. You're not ready to date because courtship costs. Everything costs. You can go for 22 walks in the park. Eventually, shorty is gonna need a sip of something. She's gonna be thirsty. This bottle of water is $3 in Atlanta. Let's not play. So if you don't have any expendable cash, don't date. And whatever that looks like for you, you might only make 50,000, but you live in a shoe. And now you got expendable. And she doesn't have the expectation. And I'm gonna tell you this right now, enjoy it while it lasts, because eventually you're gonna wanna run. Because she doesn't stretch you. She doesn't make you the man that you need to become. She allows you to be the stagnant dude in the same jeans for days. You know what I'm saying?
You're a whore. You'll always be a whore.
She's absolutely right. Fellas, if you don't have any disposable income, you should not attempt to secure the services of a prostitute. Prostitutes cost money.
Fact.
Whores cost money. They are providing a service and you have to pay for that service. So she's absolutely right. If you don't got no money, you shouldn't date whores.
Dating advice in under 1 minute. If you give him money, he's going to cheat. If you give him emotional support, he's going to cheat. If you are nice and reassuring and boring, he is going to cheat. If you bend over backwards and become his mother, always checking in with him if he's eaten, if he slept well, how he's feeling, how work has been, you will also be cheated on. Why? Because men hate reassurance. Men hate commitment and routine. Now here's your secret to keep him happy, not have him cheat on you, is to not give him routine. You need to give this man an element of surprise. And how do you do it? By not always checking in, by not mothering him, by not controlling his actions, by not always reassuring him.
Right.
Wow, I wonder if the UN has any openings for Secretary General. Who better to head up the United Nations than yet another woman who understands men better than men do? Men don't want a woman that brings them peace, that supports them, that cares for them, that loves them.
Oh, no. 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 No, 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 no.
A man wants a woman who is constantly on his case, criticizing, judging, shaming him into making more money so that he can provide her with the lifestyle she wants. That's what every man wants. If you're not getting that, then you're damn right he's gonna cheat.
I'm starting to think almost 98% of women are retarded.
If a man wants to be dominant, he needs money. If a man wants to be head of the household, he better be paying for that entire household, because it's not his leadership skills that are doing it. If a man wants you to take care of him, he better have the money to make sure that you have the energy to do so. If a man wants to be pampered, he better make sure that you don't need to spend your time working so that you can pamper yourself first during the day. The answer will always be that he pays.
This one, she's a keeper.
Wow, fellas, when you were in your early teens, you just hit puberty and you first started getting obsessed with girls and you had your first crush and your first love. Isn't this what you imagined in your most fanciful dreams? Didn't you just imagine falling in love with, winning the heart of, and marrying her?
Absolutely fucking not.
A woman that is 1000% transactional in her love?
The answer is hell no.
A woman that sees you as a utility, a walking ATM, a meal ticket, and a retirement plan, and not even as a human being? Isn't that what you've always dreamed of?
Hey, come here, look at me. Hey, look at me. What'd I say? No.
Moving on.
The reason that men mistake your kindness and politeness as flirting is because they themselves would never be kind or polite to someone they weren't attracted to.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Paradox's first law in effect once again. Fellas, who is more rude, more impolite to members of the opposite sex that they don't find attractive, men or women?
You were literally too stupid to insult.
How often do you see a man laying in to an unattractive woman, trying to shame and humiliate her in front of his friends? And how often do you see a woman laying into a man she doesn't find attractive, trying to shame and humiliate him in front of her friends? Again, I rest my case. Everything women say negative about men is actually true of them.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Hurt. I don't see men complain when women are essayed on math. What I'm realizing is that women, especially black women, are a special kind of stupid.
Interesting. So she's saying that men complain when they get their little feelings hurt, but she doesn't see men complain when women get essayed en masse.
Really?
Okay. Who complains more when they get their feelings hurt? For that matter, who gets their feelings hurt more? Women or men? Who is more easily offended? Who is more easily upset? Who gets upset when you point out that they've upset you?
Number one sign that you are with a narcissist is if you come to them with something that they've done that has upset you and they get mad.
Well, what do you know? Answering the question, what is a woman, wasn't so hard after all, was it?
Gotcha, bitch! All women. So your first point is ridiculous. And you don't see men complaining when women get essayed. Do you know what happens to rapists when they go to prison? Do you know what men think about rapists? The type of man that would rape a woman? Do you know what happens to them in prison? They have to be segregated from the population because they will be tortured and killed. Now, that might not be complaining, but it does show that no man is hated more by other men than a man that essays women and essays children. Whereas women love women that essay men, whether that's essay through domestic violence or this epidemic of teachers essaying their students, which is PDF file behavior. And there's an epidemic of it, and I don't hear women complaining about that. Or the essay that happens in divorce court, where women divorce rape men. Those women are celebrated by other women. You go, girl. You get out of that horrible marriage with that narcissistic, toxic control freak. You go out there and jump on the carousel with your retirement plan. And of course, there's the celebrated women that cut their husbands' dicks off in the middle of the night or murder their husbands and don't go to prison, because our entire culture celebrates women that violently assault, sexually assault, and ruin men's lives. That's gynocentrism for you. That's the female supremacist world we live in. So maybe if you live in a glass house, you shouldn't throw stones.
Shut your damn mouth.
The type of men that disrespect women for so-called being used.
Okay, so let's break down her logic. He says a good man should never chase a woman, which is absolutely correct. You should like the women that like you. If you have to chase a woman, you have put her on a pedestal in the position of power. She knows that you like her more than she likes you, and she won't respect you. Women only respect indifferent men, men that they think are superior to them. So that's absolutely right. A good man should never chase a woman. Her interpretation is that he's the kind of guy that disrespects women for, air quotes, being used. So in her mind, if a woman is ran through, if a woman is a whore, any man that points that out or prefers not to deal with her or prefers not to take her seriously, recreational use only, is disrespecting her. She didn't disrespect herself by giving up her punani to every Tom, Dick and Harry that made her wet, or that drove a flashy car, or rizzed her up, or had a lot of followers on Instagram. No. She wasn't disrespecting herself. She was empowering herself. Because it's empowering in the modern age for a woman to be a whore. So, yeah, I think this is time for one of my favourite gifts.
You're a whore. You'll always be a whore.
I am absolutely convinced that men don't actually want relationships.
Do you think you can stop being such a baby?
Oh, that's not childish at all. You're not pathologically immature at all. You don't have the mind of a child at all. You're not an overgrown toddler at all. How do I know that? Well, I know that anybody who has a series of failures in their love life, because they are the common denominator in their love life, anyone who keeps getting rejected by the men they want and falling into situationships and feeling like they're just used for sex but not actually loved and cherished, any grown-up person, any person who's mental and emotional development wasn't arrested at the age of 4, and so they're now an infant in an adult's body, would then generalize that all men, that the 4 billion men in the world don't want relationships because the 6 or 7 chads that you let smash didn't want a relationship with you. That's what a grown-up does. That's what a responsible adult does. They generalize from their limited experience, which is actually their own fault, because relationships are reflective. You get what you are. So they generalize from the fact that they are not the type of woman that the men they're going after want to be with on a long-term basis. They generalize from that personal experience to the idea that no men actually want to be in relationships. That is such a mature thing to do that you are definitely not an overgrown toddler that gets her feelings hurt and throws a tantrum of resentment and bitterness, projecting it onto the entire gender of men. I have so much respect for you, my dear. Thank you for showing us what it means to be a grown-up.
Do men come with communication, or do you have to buy that separately? You have to buy it separately, don't you? Fuck. I knew I forgot something. I could run back out and get it.
Wow! I get it now. It's so
Very funny. That was very funny.
Oh, I see what you did there. That was sarcasm, wasn't it? I should know. Okay, so let's look at it. So you're saying that men don't communicate. How many times, fellas, have you seen a woman say in your life or online that men should understand that women don't always say what they want? In fact, if she has to say what she wants, there's something wrong with you. How many times have you asked a woman what's wrong and she said nothing? 14 times in a row, only to discover that there was something wrong, but she just didn't tell you. How many times have you got the silent treatment for a woman? How many times have you been with a woman that didn't even know what she wanted, so she couldn't communicate it because she didn't know it herself? Fellas, who do you think is the better communicator? The one that uses reason and logic, says what they mean and means what they say, and doesn't talk when they have nothing to say, and doesn't talk meaningless jibber jabber just for the sake of talking, because as a coping mechanism they have to think out loud because they're so neurotic and anxious? That gender, men, or the one that does the opposite all of the opposite of all of that? I rest my case.
If he's not paying all of your bills, then you are not in any relationship with him. Why the hell would you give him a full access to you if he's the only person who benefits from that relationship? Men benefit just by being seen with you, just by sharing your energy, your precious feminine energy with him, and your beauty. You're giving them extra confidence and ego boost. You're just giving them social and personal promotion for free, just by giving them an access to you. And another thing is that why would you give him husband privileges if he is not even able to cover all of your bills? He's the only person that benefits from that, not you. Men fall in love by investing in you. And if you don't make them invest in you, then sooner or later, they will stop respecting you. It's him paying your bills. It's just bare minimum. It's your non-negotiable. It's 2024 and we need to become a little bit more selfish.
That's impossible!
One of the ironies of modern women having their minds corrupted by feminism, aka female supremacy, is that it has made them objectify men in exactly the same way they complain about men objectifying women. So according to her, who has the feminist mind of a prostitute, whereby a man's only utility, the only value he offers is his wallet, is his money. That's what she's just said. If he's not paying your bills, he's doing nothing for you. So men have no use outside of financial resources. So she has reduced men literally to a wallet. That is complete dehumanization. It's more than objectification, it's dehumanization. You are a wallet. At least when a man reduces a woman to her sexy body, that's still a human body. That's still a body he needs to treat with care and wants to give pleasure to. So when men objectify women for their looks, they are still humans. But when women objectify men for their financial resources, they cease to become humans. So thank you very much, young lady, for demonstrating how the feminist be proud of being a prostitute mindset makes women objectify men and dehumanize men in a way that is way worse than men have traditionally objectified women.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
In the heat of battle, he don't miss.
No.
In the heat of controversy, he don't miss.
No.
Thank you very much. You are doing a great service because men can now see that if the choice is between a woman that sees him as a wallet and spending the rest of his life alone, it's no choice at all. Because nobody, no human being, in fact, can stand to be dehumanized. It's in the word. If you're human, you cannot be with someone that subconsciously and in some cases consciously dehumanizes you. And part of my mission in life is to stop men getting into long-term relationships with these despicable, feminism corrupted modern women. And when they tell on themselves like this, it really helps my mission along. So if you've come to the realization that it's time to go your own way, I suggest you go your own way, the heroic way, because not dealing with women can leave a woman-shaped hole in your life. So it is wise to fill the woman-shaped hole in your life that happens when you go your own way with meaning and purpose and connection and belonging and adventure and self-mastery and self-actualization. That's what Heroic MGTOW is. Click the link in the description to find out more.
I do believe that as a collective, men are bad. Collective is any group of people. 10 people could be a collective. 8 or 9 out of them are inherently bad. The collective is bad. If 90 out of 100 men are bad to some degree, the collective is bad. Facts are, there are more horrible men than there are good men. I think some men who are good men, okay, they don't want to admit to themselves that they are part of a collective of people that are bad. Women don't just wake up and decide to hate men. It takes a million tiny bad experiences, or maybe even just one bad experience to say these things. Either way, it's justified. Obviously, not all men are bad. But why do men feel the need to come into the comments and reiterate this point? Women are finally able to openly talk about their negative experiences with men. And I don't understand why there's such this urge to reiterate that not all men are bad. You're not going to change our minds. As a man, you will truly never understand what it's like to be a woman, to feel powerless and harassed constantly on a daily basis, in invisible ways and in very obvious ways.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Now, yeah, I'm going to turn the sarcasm meter down on this one as well, because I feel nothing but compassion for this woman. Because one thing you should know is that anybody who, as I said before, anyone who generalizes their personal experience and projects it onto an entire gender or an entire race is deeply, deeply wounded and is projecting their unowned, unhealed pain and trauma onto that group and condemning the entire group. So in the same way that, let's say a young boy saw his granny mugged by a black guy. Some young white boy saw his mother or granny mugged by a big black man. Now, you can understand how he would become a bigot, how he would become a racist, how he might join a far-right group and hate all black people. Everyone can understand that. If you see a loved one, an innocent loved one, assaulted by a person who looks different to you, everyone understands the psychology of that. But that doesn't excuse it. It's a wounded psychology. It's an infantile psychology. It is absolutely infantile to see one person of a certain race do something and then tar the entire race as that person. That is infantile. It has no logic, no reason. It's pure emotion. Infants think with their feelings. Infants are emotional reasoners. What it means to think with your feelings, what it means to think like an infant, is if something makes you feel bad, that thing is wrong and false. If something makes you feel good, that thing is right and true. That is not actually thinking, because thinking requires reason and logic. Emotional reasoning, thinking with your feelings, requires only emotions. Children, until their brains develop, that's the only way they can think. And that's why infants act in an infantile way. Women are like infants because they grow up and never grow out of thinking with their feelings. A woman is a slave to her emotions, a slave to her feelings, for a number of reasons that I'm not going to go into now. But women who don't grow up, which is 95% of modern women, women used to grow up. Back in the day before feminism, a lot of women became adults and they grew out of thinking with their feelings. They always tended to be more emotional than men, but they didn't think with their feelings. They actually were taught, usually by a strong father, to use reason and logic. Usually he taught her that to protect her from the type of men that would take advantage. But since feminism came along, and cultural Marxism in general, identity politics in general, the victim Olympics in general, that elevated feelings to the highest value in society. Now, it's more important not to hurt someone's feelings by offending them than it is for people to be able to speak freely. So cancel culture and censorship came in, political correctness, to protect people's hurt feelings. That basically infantilized everyone in the West. So this woman feels completely justified making the preposterous, ridiculous, objectively untrue statement that there are more bad men than good men. And she's done that because she has had bad experiences with men, and like an infant, someone with the mind of an infant, a child, she has projected her personal experience onto the entire gender of men. How can I say that it's a preposterous, ridiculous statement? Well, if there were more bad men than good men, no man would be getting married. No man would be working all day to provide for a wife. No man will be buying gifts, taking women out, paying for most of the things that need to be paid for. If there were more bad men than good men, rapes would be 100 times more common. Physical assaults on women would be 100 times more common. Do you see? It's a ridiculous statement. It's a ridiculous statement. And it's also a statement that conforms to Paradox's first law. Again, thank you very much, God. Everything women say negative about men is actually true of them. Because there are, in the modern age, there are more bad women than good women. That's actually true. I mean, you just have to look at these videos, that the thousands of TikToks of women telling on themselves, the podcasts, the View, the policies, the feminist marches, the feminist ideology, what they've done to universities, abortion, women campaign to kill babies. That is a standard position, that women are so bad that in order to allow them to be whores, basically to sleep with Chad and Tyrone whenever they want, however they want, as often as they want, they want and demand the right to kill babies. How many men do you know that want to kill babies just because of their selfish desire to fuck whoever they want, whenever they want, however they want, and as often as they want? So it's an objective fact. If you just take abortion, let alone divorce rape, let alone false allegations, let alone every woman in a relationship using the man for his money, his time, his attention, his validation, and as an emotional tampon, an emotional punch bag. Every woman does that. So women use men. That is women's evolutionary strategy, to use a man to get resources. So if you just add all that up, obviously there are more bad women than good ones, because it's really, really, really hard and really, really rare for a woman to overcome her female nature, to transcend her female nature, and to transcend her feminist/female supremacist programming and conditioning and social engineering through basically being a saint and being brought up by perfect parents, ignoring all the influences of her girlfriends at school and college, and to be an actual good, loyal, feminine, agreeable, caring, empathetic woman. That is really hard, and so they're very rare. And so again, more proof everything women say negative about men is actually true of them. Moving on.
Otherwise, I don't need a man, just have a man. This is for me. For you guys who are mad though, cry about it.
Yes, sweetheart, we know this is for me because you're a modern woman. Everything is for me, like a spoilt, bratty little princess, which is what you are. How do I know that? Because you're taking the time to make a video to say, I don't need a man just because I need a man. Who cares?
We do not care.
No men are crying about it. Because you suffer from female solipsism, which is an aspect of female nature where you think the universe revolves around you and your feelings, you think that men commenting in the same way I'm about to comment is men crying. No, it's just men pointing out that you don't know what you're talking about because you're too self-absorbed to see how ridiculous you sound.
Damn!
The reason men comment on your videos is because any mature, intelligent, adult human being knows that any time somebody virtue signals in any way for any reason, they're full of shit.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
So let's take the most common form of virtue signaling. Left-wing, progressive, woke, liberal virtue signaling. I care about the planet. I care about women, I care about black people, and I care about immigrants. I care about trans people, I care about gay people, queer people, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? That is the most prevalent form of virtue signaling. Virtue signaling is signaling that you're a good person. And the way that left-wing people do that is by talking about and posting on their social media and writing on the internet of what a good person they are because they care about the planet, care about women, care about black people, care about trans people, care about immigrants, yeah? Now, everybody knows It's easy to say that you care. It's easy to post on social media that you care. But A, that doesn't mean that you actually do care. And B, who cares that you care? What are you actually doing to help? Are you doing something to actually help the planet? Are you doing something to help women or black people or gay people or trans people or immigrants? 99% of the time, you're doing diddly squat. And everyone also knows, everyone who knows a genuinely virtuous person, a genuinely good person, knows that that person never talks about being a good person. They just are a good person and they let their actions speak for themselves. So they don't need to post that they're a good person and they're virtuous and they care on social media. Do you know who does need to post and signal their virtue on social media and everywhere they go? Someone who knows deep down that they're not a good person. Of course! Get it? An insecure person, a person who doesn't feel good enough, who doesn't feel worthy, as a coping mechanism, will signal to the world, oh, look at what a good person I am, in order to cover up for the fact that they feel insecure about whether they're a good person or not.
These ain't opinions. These are facts.
Okay, so, sweetheart, please, I hope you hear this, because I am sick to my gills of virtue signalers. I'm strong and independent. I'm a strong, independent woman is another form of virtue signaling. And in fact, it's probably even more common than the left wing care about the planet, care about women, care about black people. Strong, independent woman, the feminist mantra, is literally the most prevalent form of virtue signaling in the world. And what I've just said applies just as much to that. Imagine a man who's a woodsman and a hunter, who lives in the forests of Siberia, hunts his own food, built his own log cabin, chopped down the trees, literally built his own home, catches his own food, makes fire, makes his own clothes, etc., 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 yeah? That is the ultimate, the epitome of a strong, independent person, right? Can you imagine a strong, independent woodsman that lives on his own, is truly independent, gets all his own food on his own, truly independent, truly strong, built his own house, truly strong and independent? Can you ever imagine him going, I'm a strong, independent woodsman. I don't need no woman. He would look fucking ridiculous. You have never seen a man that can build his own house, fix his plumbing, make carpentry. You've never seen a truly strong, independent individual, which is always a man, because women literally don't have the grip strength or the upper body strength to, in evolutionary terms, you didn't have the strength to hunt or to build shelters or to make and use tools. So you were completely dependent and reliant on men to do that. You would have died out if men didn't get the food for you, build the shelters for you, build all the tools, invent all the strategies for hunting. Women are completely dependent on men, and you still are, because without men, there'd be no water, electricity, internet, roads, houses, etc. Yeah? So the only true, strong, independent people are men who can hunt, feed themselves, build their own dwellings, make their own clothes, etc. They're the only truly strong, independent people. We're all, in fact, interdependent, because even those men need to get the materials for things. Unless they're chopping down their own trees and making clothes out of the hides of the animals they catch, I guess that guy might be, Grizzly Adams might be truly independent, but we're all interdependent. But women, no woman is genuinely strong and independent. So because a truly strong, independent person doesn't go around saying, I'm strong and independent.
I can see what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
We know that all the women that go around saying, I'm strong and independent, are weak and dependent. You're literally holding up a flashing neon sign every time you say that to anybody with half a brain who understands how coping mechanisms work and how insecurity works and how people's general psychology works. You're holding up a flashing neon sign saying, I am a weak, insecure, dependent person that is anxious about that and neurotic about that. And my coping mechanism for that is to go around telling everyone I'm strong and independent.
Grow the fuck up.
That's how you come across. That's how ridiculous you look. So if any women who say that, I'm strong and independent, can ever see this video, please stop. You make yourself look like a fool. You look like an absolute clown. Damn! Every time you say it, stop saying it, because it just signals the opposite of what you're trying to signal. Okay? Whew, that was like a good dump. I needed to get that out of my system. Moving on.
If a random girl that you find attractive thinks you're creepy, why does that matter? I know it takes a lot of courage to walk up to an attractive woman and talk to her, get her number, take her on a date, right? Like that's scary for a lot of men. But the thing is, the thing that's scaring you is the rejection or the words that come out of her mouth.
Bitch, please. Don't give a fuck.
Fair enough.
Don't give a fuck.
You're operating under a bit of a misconception here, young lady. Although there are men who are afraid to approach women because they don't want to appear creepy, or they're afraid of being shamed on social media, or some kind of Me Too false allegation, which are valid reasons to avoid approaching women. The vast majority of men who have stopped approaching women have stopped approaching women because you're not worth approaching. What has happened, just so you know, over the last 20 years since fourth wave feminism took a dump in the dating pool.
I agree with that.
And completely perverted the perceptions and thinking of women in the West, such that you all became, you were already female supremacists, but you actually became full-on misandrists. You're all now men haters, female supremacist men haters. And that just made you not only undateable, but unlikable and absolutely unmarriageable. And you're just unpleasant to be around. And so men en masse have recognized the simple truth that what 60 years of feminism, and in particular 20 odd years of fourth wave feminism, has done is to make the juice not worth the squeeze.
You're goddamn right.
What a man has to put in to approach a woman, charm a woman, get a woman's number, take her out on a date, get to know her, let her feel safe, let her feel attracted to you, get her into bed, get her into bed again, get her into bed again, start developing a connection, become boyfriend and girlfriend, then start to build a relationship, and then start to make a life together, and maybe get married and start to live together and have kids. All of that, that's the squeeze, yeah? For a man, that's the squeeze. All of that. You don't have to squeeze. You're the one being pursued. You're the one with the female body that the man wants to put his penis in badly and repeatedly and as often as possible in every hole he can get it in. So you don't have to do any squeezing. It's just the way it is with most mammalian species. The men compete in order to spread their seed in the women. And they compete for the most women to spread their seed as far as possible, to be the next Genghis Khan. And they compete for the best quality women, the most attractive women, the hottest women. So there's two levels of competition, and that's where the squeezing comes for men. You don't have to squeeze, so you never think about the squeeze. But men think about the squeeze because we have to squeeze.
That's a good point. You've got a good point.
Now, prior to feminism, very often, not always, but very often, the squeeze was worth it because there were decent women. There were women who were attractive, feminine, caring, humble, funny, interesting, intelligent. There were all sorts of women. Post-feminism, women have just all become the same. Entitled, narcissistic, completely self-absorbed and selfish, masculine, domineering, lacking in empathy of men at all. And as I said before, men-hating, misandrist. So given all the squeezing that's required to get into a relationship, and given the fact that what we get in return for that squeeze is less than zero, it's less than nothing. Do you understand what feminism has done to you? It's made you worth less than nothing. If you were just boring, neutral, starfished in bed, boring to talk to, which most women are, you are quite boring, you've always been that way. But if you were just boring and dull and just starfished in bed, that would be zero. But you're, as I said, unlikable, unpleasant, and you hate men. You're needy, demanding, entitled, masculine, and just horrible people. In general, modern women are horrible people because your minds have been corrupted by female supremacy and misandry. So you're bound to be horrible people. It's not rocket science. But of course, you, being a woman, are incapable of accountability. So instead of acknowledging the obvious truth that the reason men have stopped approaching women is because women aren't worth approaching anymore, you have to make out that the problem was with the men. You have to blame men. You have to project your shitty personality and character onto men and make out that men are the ones with the shitty personality and character. Men are cowards. They're intimidated. Why do you care if a woman you don't know, a random stranger, thank you God, thinks you're a creep? That's just deflection and cope to try and pretend to yourself and the sisterhood that men aren't approaching because men are insufficient. Men aren't good enough. Because, according to Paradox's first law, everything women say negative about men is actually true of them, of you, women. Because you're always projecting. You're always projecting your shadow, the stuff you can't own, take responsibility for, take accountability for, your dumb choices, your terrible behavior, your childish thinking, all of that you can't own, that you can't say, yeah, hold my hand up, I did that, that was me, that was on me. You can't do that, so you have to get rid of it. And getting rid of something that is part of you requires suppression and denial. You have to suppress it and deny it so that it is no longer in your conscious awareness, so you're no longer aware of it. And the simplest way to do that, the way you've been doing that since you were literally a newborn baby, is projection. You know when a baby cries when it's born, rah, rah, what do you think that is? That's the baby projecting the terror and pain of just being expelled from the heaven of the womb through a toothpaste tube into a nightmarish world where it needs to breathe for itself and it is no longer given everything it needs by its mother. Separation anxiety. The baby is suffering from separation anxiety from the womb to the world, and it's in pain and terror. And the screaming of a newborn baby is literally projection. It's the first coping mechanism. Rah! Get this pain and fear out of me. Get it out of me. That's how the baby who can't do anything else copes with pain and fear. And as we grow, our projection just becomes slightly more sophisticated. So when we're 2 and 3, it becomes pointing at people and calling them big nose. When we get into the early grades, it becomes judgmental insults. Big nose, fatty, blackie, whitey, yeah? That's projection. That's projecting the pain and fear that you feel inside that you can't cope with because you're just a kid. Projecting it out onto a scapegoat, a convenient scapegoat for your pain that you can point out and say that the pain and ugliness you feel inside is actually outside. It's not mine, it's his, it's hers, it's out there, yeah? That's what projection is. It's how we get rid of what we don't want to own because it's too fearful or painful or traumatic. And then as we grow, it becomes more sophisticated and we get into little tribes and cliques. So if you're into rock music, you project onto people who are onto people who are into pop music and call them sad and all the names. If you're into goth, soul, whatever. If you're into sports, you project onto nerds. If you're a nerd, you project onto sport. You see what I mean? You just project your shit onto the people who are very unlike you. And you can say that your shit doesn't belong in you, it belongs in them. Left and right of the political spectrum, men and women, old and young, etc., etc. So all human beings project all the time, but nobody projects more than women because women are the worst at accountability. Because the only people who don't project are people that take radical responsibility for their shadow, for their shit, for their flaws, for their weaknesses. People who take radical responsibility. People who say, everything under my skin is mine. Those people are mystics and genuine spiritual practitioners and enlightened beings. Those are the only people who hardly project at all. Even they project a little bit, but they're the only people, well, enlightened beings don't, but mystics like me and spiritual practitioners like the people I work with, we still project, but very little, because we literally practice everything under my skin is mine. If I'm unhappy, that's on me. If I'm happy, that's on me. If I'm resentful, that's on me. If I'm bitter, that's on me. If I'm insecure, that's on me. We don't blame the world or anybody else for how we feel. We don't blame what's outside of us for what's inside of us. We take ownership and responsibility for our inner experience. That is what it means to be an adult, a responsible adult who is able to respond to their feelings and their thoughts and their inner experience. And instead of reacting to it by projecting it onto scapegoats, which is what 95% of human beings do and 100% of women do. And when you can't take accountability, you are always projecting. And that is why everything negative women say about men altogether now is actually true of them. Here endeth the lesson. Moving on.
The real reason that the patriarchy still exists is because most men will never know the feeling of a critical thought passing in between their ears.
You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Y'all heard it.
I mean, you literally can't make this shit up. A woman accusing men of never having a critical thought when women are the ones who think with their feelings, who are emotional reasoners, and men are the logical, critical thinkers. And the proof of that is How many engineers do you know that are women? How many mathematicians, physicists, people who literally cannot do their job unless they are critical thinkers? Computer coders and programmers, computer scientists, people who work with logic-based systems that require rationality and critical thinking, health and safety, nuclear power plants, mechanics. Simple car mechanics have more critical thoughts in a morning than most women have had in a year. So again, just more evidence. Every time you see a woman saying something negative about a man, it's a projection. She's the one that has never had a critical thought pass through her brain, but because she can't own that, can't take accountability for that, has to get rid of it, suppress it, deny it, she's saying that men who built civilization, invented all the mod cons of civilization, run the water, power, electricity systems, everything in the world that makes the world run, which requires critical thinking, is run by men. But she's sitting there making a video thinking that she is right, saying that men are incapable of critical thinking and women are capable of it. The absolute inverse of obvious physical reality. She is speaking the absolute opposite of reality, and she thinks she's right. How is it that she can think she's right? It's because she doesn't take into account any evidence, any facts, anything to do with reality, and only considers how she feels. She's literally proving her own point wrong by saying what she's saying. The only way you could say what she's saying is if you're an emotional reasoner for whom the idea that men are critical thinkers and women are not feels too bad. It just feels bad to feel that you as a woman, a female supremacist, are in any way lesser than a man. So you can't have that. You can't have any fact that demonstrates that men do something better than women. As a female supremacist, you cannot have that because it just feels repulsive to you. So you literally make up a fairy story, a fantasy, that men are the ones who don't have critical thoughts. Do you see? It's just literally a 4-year-old. 4-year-olds make up little fantasy stories that have nothing to do with reality because they make them feel good. And that's what women do. They ignore reality, they ignore facts, they ignore evidence, they ignore history, they ignore geography, they ignore physics, they ignore chemistry, they ignore biology, they ignore all the sciences, they ignore all the facts, they ignore all of reality, and focus solipsistically and in a hyper self-absorbed way on how something makes them feel. And if the idea of men being logical, rational and critical thinkers and women being emotional reasoners and thinking with their feelings doesn't feel good, they'll just make up a fairy story that it's the other way around. They are good for a laugh though. Moving on.
Imagine being a woman and not being a feminist. Oh my god, that is like a crime. Like, I cannot deal with that. If you're not a feminist and you're a woman, you're a pick-me. That's my opinion.
She's fit for a straitjacket. This broad's fucked 3 ways towards the weekend.
Now, she's not even trying to hide it. She's proud of being a feminist. A lot of women don't talk about being a feminist, but that doesn't mean their minds haven't been corrupted by feminism, because it's in the culture. It's programmed from birth through Disney, everything from Disney movies to the media, the mass media, the mainstream media, etc., etc. But she's a proud feminist. So she is what's called a useful idiot. She is one of the ideologically possessed puppets that the creators of cultural Marxism, identity politics, woke, which includes feminism, as well as critical race theory, gender theory, anti-colonialism, etc. The people who created that, who are, of course,
the people Kanye proved you can't criticize.
They describe women like her as useful idiots because they have allowed themselves to literally abandon their own humanity in favor of an ideological program which will destroy them. So how do feminists abandon their own humanity? Well, it's given away by the very term pick me. Where does the term pick me come from? It comes from bitter, competitive women who want the best men for themselves, but have adopted feminism, which basically turns you into a man and makes you all the things I recently said: unlikable, unpleasant, undateable, unmarriageable. So that's how feminism destroys the useful idiots that believe it. It makes you fail to reproduce because you can't find a mate. Yes, of course, you can become a single mother by sleeping with some Pookie or Ray Ray or some deadbeat guy that just wants to fuck and abandon his children, of course. But that child will be one of the worst members of society. Most of the prisons are filled with the children of single mothers, as are the drug dependency, as is OnlyFans, as is, the streets. So yeah, if you decide to go that route and become a single mother, you're the worst. Simple as. If you decide to become a baby mama because you're that selfish, I want a child and I don't care if that child has a miserable life, so I'll get knocked up by Pookie. If you decide to do that, you're just literally the worst human being it's possible to be. Because that child is innocent and you have consciously chosen to ruin its life because of your selfishness.
He's out of line, but he's right.
If you're slightly better than that as a woman, you will be childless. Feminism will make you childless because the only men that are attracted to masculine, domineering, selfish, entitled women, which is what female supremacist feminists are simps. And women aren't attracted to simps. So you're only gonna be able to have kids if you sucker a simp into marrying you, giving you a couple of kids, and then divorce him, which a lot of you do. And you might think that is going to help you avoid, it's certainly going to help you avoid being childless, but it won't help you avoid becoming a Karen and a cat lady, because that's what Karens and cat ladies are, just in case you didn't know. Why are there so many horrible women, 35 plus women, who are just absolute nightmare human beings, nightmare fuel? They're just like the worst people. Why are there so many of them? Because they were feminists.
How could you be so sure?
Because they had their nature corrupted and perverted by the idea men and women are the same, men and women are equal, women can do anything men can do, girl power, female supremacy. That's what creates a Karen, and when they get a bit older, Karens become cat ladies. They just become so heinous and unpleasant to be around. The only people who can be around them, the only beings that can be around them are cats.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
I mean, it's that obvious. That's what Karens are. That's what cat ladies are. Older feminists. That's what they are. So you've destroyed your own life by believing that ideology and being a useful idiot. And the word pick me is the perfect representation of that. So, women are competitive. You all want the top men. When you destroy your life and become undateable, unlikable, unpleasant, misery loves company. And so if you see a woman who hasn't adopted feminism, like you say, a woman who's not a feminist, that's the whole point of your video, is to try and character assassinate, reputation destroy any woman that doesn't adopt feminism, because you've adopted it and you're now single and miserable, and you can see your Karenhood on the horizon. You can feel the cat litter and the box wine in your future, and The thing about women that makes them different from men, you all basically, men, like I got married when was it, 25 years ago. I got married, I did all the things you're supposed to do, and I got divorce raped and I got cheated on. No. And when that happens to a man, when a man discovers what women are really like, he goes out of his way to warn younger men, to help younger men avoid the mistakes he made. That's what men are like. Women are the opposite. When women fuck up their lives because they believed in feminism and so they decided to be a boss babe and go through their hoe phase and, put off a family until their mid-30s when it was too late. When women realise they fucked up their lives because of feminism, they don't warn younger women. They try to get younger women to do the same thing. Single women keep women single.
Fatality.
And your video is a perfect example of that. So you're trying to shame women who are not feminists, who actually offer something to a man: femininity, agreeableness, a lack of entitlement, so appreciation and respect. Women who actually will get a man, will get what you didn't get. You're trying to tell those women, you're a pick-me. If you're not a feminist, you're a pick-me, as though that's an insult. But in your tiny little mind, because you don't understand anything else, because you're ideologically possessed by feminism and your mind is broken, you think that your shaming is going to work. You think they're going to look at you and say, oh yeah, I don't want a man. I don't want a family. I don't want to have people around me as I get old. I don't want love and connection and community. I want to be bitter and twisted and single like her. I want to be a Karen like her. I want to be a cat lady like her. That, in your mind, in your absolutely delusional mind, you think that making this video is going to get women to become feminists and ruin their life like you did. Absolutely sensational. Ladies and gentlemen, the power of ideological possession, the power of social engineering. Thank you very much, Rockefellers, for that one. Moving on.
It is absurd. The messages, the ridiculous. Good morning, beautiful. I saw your smile and eyes, and I just had to stop and tell you, in case nobody else did, that you're gorgeous, and you fucking spell gorgeous wrong. And then you could say, and God bless, grand rising queen. And if nobody told you today, I believe in you. And I know you get a ton of messages, so you don't have to respond. But if you did, it would mean the world to me. And I'm just gonna leave you my number in case you're ever desperate enough to agree to a dinner date.
Something is wrong with you!
Another feminist lunatic, just absolute insanity. You're getting that bent out of shape. You're getting that butt hurt. You're getting that dramatic over compliments. What do you think that says to men? When you get that upset, that bitchy, that heinous and despicable over a man giving you compliments. What do you think that says to men? It says to men,
run! Get to the chopper!
It says, steer well clear. She's an absolute Looney Tune. She is a Chernobyl radioactive zone of horribleness that I don't even want to have in my social media feed, let alone put my penis in.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
So all you're doing is guaranteeing, I mean, you're already a Karen, so you're just guaranteeing your cat lady status. Can you see what ideological possession? It makes women destroy themselves. It's like that ideological possession by any cultural Marxism, whether it's critical race theory or trans or gender or feminism. They all work the same. They work like that, what is it? I think it's a wasp that lays a parasite. Oh no, it's a parasite that lives in cat shit. Is that right? Yeah, it's a parasite that lives in cat shit, which if it gets into a mouse, it burrows into its brain and it literally makes the mouse, walk in front of the cat to be eaten so the parasite can get back in the body of the cat. And then eventually it is shitted out, gets into a mouse, literally puppets the mouse to its own self-destruction. That is what identity politics does. That's what cultural Marxism does. And it was designed to do that. I'll stick my Joker meme in here.
It's all part of the plan.
It was designed to do that. It's designed to get women to destroy themselves. It's the greatest piece of social engineering ever. I'm actually going to do a video on, how the Rockefellers re-engineered women. But basically, it engineered women to destroy their opportunity. Mainly white women, but it destroyed black women in a different way. Most people know about that. We'll give you welfare if you don't have a man in the house. So single motherhood in the black community skyrocketed. That's why black people commit majority of the crimes, etc., etc. So they destroyed the black community through women that way, by getting women to marry the state instead of black men. But they destroyed the white community through feminism by getting women literally to make themselves into unlikable, unpleasant, undateable, unmarriageable, unmotherable harridans, harpies that no man wants to fuck, live with, or impregnate. That's how they did it. It was brilliantly done. Absolutely brilliantly done. Moving on.
The reason you don't get princess treatment is because you look poor. You look low value and not put together. Leaving the house wearing sneakers, a pair of ripped jeans, an oversized boyfriend t-shirt, no makeup, and throwing your hair up in a bun. The cheaper you look, the cheaper the men are you attract. And the more expensive you look, the more you will attract a provider man who wants to spend money on you. Because the clothes you wear and the way you represent yourself to the world is a way of communicating to men your standard and how you feel and think about yourself.
You're a cunt. You are.
Cunt.
Absolute cunt.
Well, of course, this is absolutely spot on advice if you're a gold digger. If what is important to you is how much money your husband, boyfriend earns. If you're a gold digger, if you see men as walking ATMs and wallets, if you dehumanize men like she does, this is perfect advice. On the other hand, if you're one of the few women who actually cares about more than money, this is terrible advice, because a good man doesn't give a shit how expensive you look. In fact, the more expensive you look, the more he knows you're a gold digger. So if there are any women listening to this that aren't gold diggers, don't worry about designer brands and all that, because the more you look like that, the more you put off the good men. And you'll just attract the wealthy men that just want to bang you out. Just run a train on you, use you for a while, and then dump you. So that's what you're going to get. That's what she's been getting, which is why she's trying to get other women to do it, because misery loves company. It only applies to women. When women fuck their lives up through their dumb decisions and trying to be feminist boss babes and think they're the boss and strong and independent and think they're smarter than men and blah, 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 blah. When women do all those things, they inevitably end up with egg on their face. They inevitably fall flat on their face and look stupid. And in order to cover up the shame and guilt they feel for fucking their lives up, they virtue signal that they're a boss babe and this is the way to get what you want. And they make TikToks trying to get other women to join them in their misery. Because in their tiny little minds, if they can't have what they wanted out of life, the only thing that will make them feel better is if they can prevent other women getting what they want out of life. Then it's not so bad, because misery loves company. I fucked up my life. I want to surround myself with other women that fucked up their life. I don't want to think about other women getting what I wanted when I didn't get it. Yeah? That's female nature.
Women can't live with them.
The end.
Well, I've done a long one. This is a new experiment I'm trying to see if I can compete with the big boys in the space. So if you've watched to the end of this 1 hour video, thank you, brother. Thank you very, very much. Can I ask you to like, after you've already watched for an hour? I basically shouldn't ask for anything else, but I'm gonna. Can I ask you, remind you to like, please comment, please drop a comment saying, yay, I like these longer videos, or even I don't like these longer videos. And if you're feeling particularly magnanimous and you have appreciated my wit and wisdom, why not share the video as well? All right, thanks, brother. See you in the next one.